Hey, and welcome back to ZAY SHEEN Webisodes, where sustainability meets style. I'm your host, Afreed Budd, the founder of ZAY SHEEN, a brand rooted in eco-conscious designs and ethical practices. Today, I am joined by a wonderful guest, Sybil Stewart. Sybil is a sustainability expert, brand strategist, and advocate for community revitalization. With a background in environmental law and policy, Sybil has built her career helping businesses embed sustainability into their operations while educating consumers to hold brands accountable. She's also the host of Experience the Edge with Sybil, a radio show dedicated to building ethical brands and reshaping industries through sustainable practices. In this webisode, we'll unpack some of the most important topics shaping our future, like greenwashing and how to recognize it, the role of upcycling and zero waste in everyday life, the responsibilities we all share as a consumer, and how culture and language influence the sustainability movement. Along the way, we'll also explore Sybil's inspiring journey and how her works align with our mission at ZAY SHEEN. So get ready for a thought-provoking conversation about building a more ethical and sustainable future. So let's get ready. So yes, thank you very much everyone for joining us here on the ZAY SHEEN Webisodes. We got our wonderful guest right here, Sybil Stewart.
Hello, how are you today?
Good. How are you, Sybil?
I am doing well, thank you.
It is my pleasure to have you on the ZAY SHEEN Webisodes. Just before we go further, I pronounce your name okay, right? First and
Absolutely.
last?
Sybil, yes, Sybil
Yes,
Stewart.
Sybil. That's how you say. Okay. Thank you very much, Sybil. Yes, we would start with an introduction of yours, please.
Yes, so my name is Sybil Stewart, and I am a brand architect and paid professional speaker. And I talk about sustainable branding for businesses as a strategic way to grow your business and your brand. And I really do try to specialize in working with organizations that are historically very hard on the environment. So, fashion, hospitality, lifestyle brands that are naturally difficult on the environment. And I also have a heart for revitalization projects. So, your bed and breakfasts, that sort of thing, to continue to pour resources back into our local communities and support local small businesses.
Amazing. Thank you very much for a small introduction. And definitely all the industries, the hard industries you just mentioned, are actually hard. Especially the fashion. You said fashion, hospitals,
hospitality, event planning. Yeah. Really hard on the environment.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll usually discuss about fashion here.
Yes.
But it's not just limited to fashion, because I believe sustainability is a part of a lifestyle. It should be in every aspect of our lives, as we, remember our intro call we discussed. So I'm very, very excited to hear the insights that you know about these industry beside the fashion one. So, I mean, where should we start? You just start with fashion, or yeah, whatever you like.
Let's start with fashion. Why not? I love looking really good. Okay. Like I tell people all the time. Thank you. Being a fashionista is hard work. But when I started getting paid to speak, and I realized just the volume of clothing I was going through, because every time you get booked, people expect you to wear something different or look something different or wear this thing that other people are wearing. And I was like, this is not sustainable for me. And then the more I really dived into the work that I was already doing in sustainability, and I was like, wait a minute, I might be a part of the problem here. And I had to even take a hard look at my practices and say, well, while I never have done fast fashion, while I've never done these other things, I'm still culpable if I shop this way or if I do these things. And so I got really deep into zero waste patterning. So I sew my own clothes from time to time. I got into zero waste patterning when I heard about that. And for the consumers who don't know what that is, that's literally where you have that piece of fabric and nothing goes to waste. So instead of cutting a pattern 10 different ways and there's, bulk left over, it literally does force the patterner, the dressmaker, to figure out a way to use every part of the fabric that you've purchased
Wow.
and
Yes.
have nothing left for scraps. And in the event that I do have scraps, I have now learned, because I use a lot of natural fabrics, I can use those scraps for something else, like cleaning my home. I don't have to buy rags. I can use that. There's also a
Exactly.
scrap exchange locally here where you can drop off your unwanted and bolts and that sort of thing, and they will repurpose it for you.
Right. I
Yeah,
mean, you had a great point, and I'll be, as I always try to be transparent and be honest with my brand too. The factories that we work with as ZAY SHEEN brand, I actually had an intro with a call with them, and I asked them about what you do with the waste, because it's a huge problem.
huge.
When you're cutting the stuff, you have to be very careful, and you have to get professionals to cut the material so you don't get much of the waste. So those factories are working on it, but what they do is whatever the waste they have left, they repurpose that, as you said, cleaning, or try to use with other things, or upcycling, you know.
Yes,
So that's a very good thing, but that's a huge problem
definitely
beside
is.
fashion, even in the
Exactly.
factories.
Wow. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think it's also, we want clothing that's really well made, right? We want the pattern to match. We want the lines to cross. And I tell people when they ask me, "Will you make me something?" I'm like, "Well, find something that doesn't have a repeatable pattern. That way you don't have to keep trying to measure it up, so that there's that one for one," because that's where the patterning waste really does come from, is geometric prints and prints that have a very specific repeat, and then it never happens again. That means you literally cannot use sometimes yards of a particular fabric without wasting.
right.
Yeah.
That's actually the things that factories are need to work on, and especially the brands who claim to be ethical and they do the work. They have to be looking at those things too, because these are the things that we have to look for. So a quick question for the people who don't know, what is sustainability? That's the first. And the second is, what sustainability means to you, to Sybil?
Yeah, so sustainability means to me, I tell people, I don't expect you to do all the things. I just need for us to all try to do a little bit better in the things that we're going to do, right? So sustainability, it really is a double-edged sword in so many ways, because even if we're using natural fibers, it still takes a lot of water. Even if we drive less, we still have to do something that requires consumption. And so sustainability really is about understand the duality of what it means to be a consumer, and how can I reduce the impact of whatever my activities are. And if we take that broader lens about sustainability, then I think it makes it a better conversation than saying, "Oh, did you go green?" or, "Did you do this or did you do that?" It's like,
Right,
globally, um, what are your practices and how can you be easier on the environment that you are walking through? And
right,
so that really is the lens that I try to walk people through, broadly and then also narrowly. Um, and then how can you reduce your waste? How can you recycle? How can you elongate the life of whatever it is you're using? And I think the other thing that I think we forget is, throwing things away is a relatively new practice for humans. For so long, they repurposed a lot of things. Like, it was not uncommon to take your shorts and then turn it into a shopping bag. It was not uncommon to take your sheets and then turn it into a pillowcase. So
right,
I think this is a relatively new bad habit that we've gotten into, because we are in this mass produced overconsumption microwave mentality. And the more we pull back from that, the
wow.
more we can have a sustainable lens.
Did you said microwave mentality?
Yes.
What is that?
Like, you want things in 30 seconds, right?
Oh, wow. Wow, that is so perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Right. Agreed. Agreed. Totally. So, yeah, thank you for the answering for the sustainability thing. And of course, we have to realize how we can be more conscious. It doesn't mean that, of course, the goal is to be 100%, but at this world, at this time frame that we are, it's not so ethical, especially if you live in the urban cities or even rural. It's pretty hard for now. But getting better at least 1% each time, each day, it's make a huge difference. Right. So, yeah, let me see what else. Actually, give me 1 second. This back plaid is bothering me. I feel like it's not in the center. Ugh, I'm too lazy to get up.
It's the little things for the backdrop. Like I noticed my harp that's behind me, and I'm
I don't
like
know.
trying to sit in front of the harp picture. It's like
Why? Okay. It reminds me, the picture that you have in the back, that instrument, what is it called?
it is a harp.
Harp. And I see your videos and you are incredible in that. How did you learn that? I mean, it's not related to sustainability, but
David played the harp in the Bible. David played the harp. So actually, I've been a musician my whole life. I really
okay.
appreciate that you thought I was 25, but really, I've been a musician for. I've been a musician for 35 years, so
I don't
you can
believe
go
that.
ahead and add that on up. So,
I don't believe that. This is the first time I'm disagreeing with our guest from the ZÁY SHEEN Webisodes. Yeah.
so, but no, I just remember watching an episode of Harpo Marx play the harp on TV, and I remember looking up at my grandmother, and I'm like, I want that thing, whatever this thing is, I want that one. And I went to work. Like I went through a lot of other instruments, and then about 10 years ago, I finally got my first harp, and
Wow.
that is, yeah,
So
that's what I want
how
to
did you
do.
learn to play it?
I found a harp teacher on Google.
Okay.
I know. And then found out there's like harp societies and harp organizations that I could join. And it's been such an amazing journey to um, keeping me in balance while I do this work. So while it's not tied to sustainability for other people, it's tied to myself maintenance, sustaining me while I am
Right.
going out and doing the work that I'm called to do. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, there are people and the communities are everywhere and you don't know about. You just have to will or have the willing to join and to be changed. And especially we can merge that now to sustainability. And, you just have to look around and you just have to be more conscious because it's about ourselves right now and about our future generations. Hopefully they will be okay. I don't know about, but yeah. So exactly. That's one of the things. And maybe I'm looking at the wrong layout. I'm like, what questions am I getting?
Well, I can tell you a little bit about my background and my journey into sustainability.
Exactly. That was my next question, actually. I'm just trying
Awesome.
to cover myself.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So, I started out, my undergrad was in chemistry, and
Okay.
then I went and got my master's degree in policy, and I focused on environmental and education law. I just knew I was going to go work for the EPA.
Hmm.
And then the Great Recession, Depression, whatever we're calling it, of 2008 happened.
2008. Right.
That's right. Do you see how old I am now?
I don't know.
And so, yeah, I was without jobless, right? Like I was jobless. I was like, well, I will go teach. So I went and taught, and then I got into sustainable work, working for the Land Trust Alliance.
Wow.
And
In 2008, you started?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
That's
so I've been
amazing.
doing this work for a while now.
10, yeah, 15,
Yeah.
18, more like 1.5 decade, like more than 15 years now. Right. I mean, I'm so glad, I met some other people who are, fashion advocates, sustainable fashion, and they've been working for more than 2 decades. And, they told me how this thing started. And it wasn't a thing like back in about even a decade ago.
It
It wasn't a
wasn't.
thing. But I'm so grateful to you guys to spread the awareness, spread the education, let the people know that, what it is, and we should be more conscious and more aware of it, which is incredible. Without
Yeah.
you or, whoever involved in this, it was very hard. If we have to start and we have to face the problems and the people's questions that you guys faced back in time, it's gonna be very hard for us.
Yeah.
Now we are glad that, at least people know about the term that calls sustainability.
Yes. Yes. Back then, back then we were, global warming and, the greenhouse effect and right, like there were a different set of words to describe the exact same problems.
Okay.
And I think the better we get at giving the layperson the general consumer language, the better we will get at communicating what the actual problem and actual needs are so that they know what they can do as a tangible next step instead of it being this pie in the sky activity or exercise and debate. And so I think we as practitioners had to understand the full scope of what was really happening in real time. And now we have better language.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. You guys put a lot of work and we really appreciate that. And that's the whole point of, starting this ZÁY SHEEN Webisodes too, to spread the awareness, let the people know, and especially the Gen Z who are actually interested in this thing. Exactly. So we actually can talk about greenwashing.
Oh, joy.
What is that?
I tell people greenwashing is a PR stunt, okay?
Okay.
That is when organizations claim to be doing something that they are not, or they do just enough to air quote go green to avoid penalties or fines or being, found out that their practices are not above board. And a lot of it happens, sadly, in organizations that really are trying to do the right thing. But when you are starved for funding, when you are starved for consumers, that's typically when they are faced with the challenge of how strong do I want to stand on my ethics and morals versus risk my business closing or risk having to lay off staff.
Right.
And that's why the work that I do, I believe, is so important, is helping these companies realize that you don't have to sacrifice one for the other. And if it's done properly, I read a report a couple of weeks ago that said over 60% of Gen Z are actively looking for companies that are doing sustainability the right way. And they are peeking behind the curtains and looking for receipts
Wow.
to make sure that you're not greenwashing.
Thank you,
And
Gen Z.
so I know. So thank you, Gen Z. Right? You can't do the smoke and mirror anymore that you did with previous because they have no problem flipping on a camera and saying what you did right or wrong.
Right.
Whereas before there was not this immediacy. There had to be a USA Today report before we found out you weren't doing the right thing. And now within, 140 characters or less, somebody has told the truth about your business.
Wow. That's amazing. So there's no
So,
way, but still, there are
but
so many
still,
ways.
yes.
How can I find out if a brand doing greenwashing?
My goodness. So it's about what they don't say is what I'll say, because anybody can say I'm going green. Um, do they have certifications, right? Do they have that B Corp? Do they say ethically funded, ethically sourced? Can they list their list of suppliers and you can click the button and say, Sybil Stewart, and then pull up my website and see the receipts from the work that I'm doing? Do they have proof concepts, right? One example I'll give you is Mud Jeans. They have their sustainability just laid out on their website. They have a full page dedicated to the behind the scenes process, as transparent as they can get. Of course, they don't want to give away their secret sauce, but extremely transparent. Like, here's where our CO2 emissions were for 2022, 23, and 24. Like, do you have a sustainability report on your website that highlights where you are in the trajectory that you want to go, and is it reasonable? I think a lot of time greenwashing happens when people don't realize what the real lift of doing this work is. And I'll call out one, fast fashion provider, if you will, and they were like, oh yeah, we're going to do thus and so by 2050. And I'm like, that is impossible. Like,
Right.
based on their business model, it is impossible. So that's a version of greenwashing, making these really big claims that we know just are not true. So yeah.
Exactly. So these are the things that we have to look for. So did I did the right thing when I said that I'll be transparent and tell about the cutting thing?
Say that one more time.
Did I did the right thing and trying to be transparent in the early of
Yes.
the podcast when I said,
Yes.
that we are working on this thing. It's not
Yes.
100%, but
Yes.
okay. Thank you for that. So after the greenwashing, and do you remember any stories when you see or heard about Gen Z about greenwashing or somebody exposed somebody like that?
Yeah. I follow this young lady on Instagram, and she started an entire hashtag movement about the practices that her former employer was doing. And it was like they fired her on a Monday, and on Tuesday she was like, behind the scenes, here's what they're doing with their boxes. I was just like, well, there you go. And 100 people were like, yeah, my store told me to do the same thing. And it just became this movement.
Wow.
So I just tell every business owner, really be transparent, be cautious, and be truthful. Like, that is okay. Be honest where you are in your journey. It is a process to do this work.
So in the past, because you also work in this industry and look for the things, what are the things that you look for in the brand if they're okay, and how do you do your thing into this?
Yeah, so I'll give you a really good example. One organization that I worked for, they needed a new office building. And so rather than build a brand new office, they found a location that had been abandoned for several years and went in and renovated it. And during that renovation process, it was about a $10 million renovation that I managed for
Wow.
this organization. I know $10 million goes by really fast, but it really can. Um, but looking at the infrastructure, making sure that there was enough natural lighting created
Uh,
throughout the building and the space, making sure that it faced east versus west for maximum sunlight,
right.
making sure that the lights were on timers, making sure that the AC was on a timer, that the temperature didn't have these major fluctuations. And here's the thing that I will tell everybody listening is, not only are these good practices on the front end, but over time, it's going to save your business money anyway, because your
Right.
light bill isn't as high, your water bill isn't as high. You're more energy efficient. You're not going through reams of paper towel because you're using air dryers. And so
Right.
while it might feel like a major upfront cost, a lot of that will get eaten up, and then you'll actually see yourself in the green over time because you did these foundation moments the right way the first time.
Exactly.
We repurposed all of the furniture, office furniture. A lot of times businesses will just buy new, and we managed to repurpose something like 80% of their office furniture. Like, literally, it's in those small moments. We supported local artists. That was really a key component as well. A lot of times we think, oh, I'll save money. I'll just ship it from overseas, or I'll ship it here, there, and everywhere. Well, there are a lot of local artists
Right.
that you can get to do murals and that sort of thing. And so it was literally going through, what does this business need? How can we create green spaces, community spaces within the office environment, and make it sustainable, short term and long term?
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
these, we would have to get a person like you then who has the experience and you who actually knows about the stuff because yeah, there's a lot of ways to save, and definitely if you do these kind of things, I believe, it saves you a lot of money as business, and of
Yes.
course it's greener. It's gonna
Yes.
save a lots of resources too for the other people, less waste at the end. So I also see, and you are a speaker too, a public speaker. Uh, I'm very fascinated about that thing. And how does behind the scenes of that looks like? What you do?
Gosh. I will tell anybody who thinks they want to be on stage, be prepared to do 90% of the work off stage. Like, that is the life of being a paid speaker. 90% of our work is not done on the stage. What you
Okay.
see is months and months of preparation, practice, speech writing, rehearsing, reviewing talking points, and then you're on a stage for 30 or 45 minutes trying to give it your best.
Right.
So behind the scenes, that's what it looks like. And it's a lot of administrative work. It's a lot of pitching yourself. It's a lot of being vulnerable and understanding where your expertise starts and stops, and having those real conversations with yourself to say, I'm not the best expert to talk about this, or here's where I should be speaking, and anyone else, I'm doing a disservice if I show up and try and pretend like I know something that I don't.
Right. So you have to be very what we call a real on the stage.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. So what kind of a preparation that you need to do before a speech?
Yeah. So, you've got to think about what your big idea is,
Okay.
obviously. You've got to decide who your audience is and what do they need from you right now. And I think a lot of speakers miss that right now part, because your speech needs to be timely. And I think that there are so many speakers who get up on stage and they want to be motivational and inspirational. Well, audiences need more than motivation, inspiration. They need to know how to take action, and they need to know how to work with you next. They need to know why your voice matters in this real time. And does your background and story match their background and their need? Because if not, there's a misalignment there.
Right.
Um, you also need to know how to pitch yourself and present yourself in a way that sets you apart from the thousands of other speakers who probably want that spot. So it really is a job interview every single time that you are applying for. Like, every time I go on a stage, is I met the requirements of the job.
Wow. And
So yeah.
yeah, it is like that. And any funny incidents happens with you while, or how your first speech looked like when you started?
My first speech was, I tell people, your first speech is probably sooner than what you thought it was, earlier than you thought it was. Like, if I want to go back to my first speech, it was my first Easter speech at age 6, happy Easter from me to you. Uh, that's probably my first speech. Um, my first paid speaking engagement was at the Pennsylvania State Land Conservation Conference. And I remember being so nervous, even though I had been a school teacher, even though I had taught corporate settings, to be considered the authority in the room, speaking to people who I thought were my peers, but now I'm the leader.
Right.
Um, it can be a very nervous experience. It could be a very humbling experience. And what I learned from that is, the expert is the person who knows 10% more than everybody else. It's not your job to know everything. Do you know 10% more than the people who are listening to you?
I see. So what you do, I mean, if you have some kind of a speech, you just go to Google first and learn about more things before going to the speech, or what you do about that to get to know more than 10%.
You can gauge what your 10% is based off of what did you study your audience, right? Like, this is also marketing. Have you studied your audience enough to know that your expertise is different from theirs? So in my first speech, I was the expert because I was talking about the operations of the green organization. Now, had they asked me, do I know about, landscaping? Absolutely not. That's not my expertise. I would then be the student in the room. But because I was the person saying, here's how you run the business of going green or the business of sustainability, they didn't know. Therefore, I became the expert in that space.
Exactly. Makes sense. Sorry for asking that question.
No, absolutely.
Exactly. I mean, I totally agree with you on this. And funny incident I asked for also.
A
Or
funny incident. Yeah.
yeah.
You are not officially a professional speaker until you get stuck in an airport. Until
What
you spend the night in an airport, you are not official.
what does that mean?
You've missed a flight, you've got a flight delay, the weather shuts you down, you
Okay.
get rerouted to an airport that you had no idea you were going to.
Okay.
That's when you really know you're in it to win it. My flight got rerouted. I was supposed to have a direct flight. I got rerouted to Charlotte, which is only 2 hours away from my city.
Okay.
And we got grounded in Charlotte. And I remember we landed at like 10:30, and they said, over the PA, if you want to catch the next flight out, it leaves at 11. Well, that literally only left me 30 minutes to
Okay.
get from the tarmac on one end to the other end. And of course, by the time I get to the gate, they have already shut the doors.
Oops.
I get there at, 11:01, they're gone. And so I spent the night in Charlotte Airport because the weather was just terrible.
Gosh.
And that wasn't the worst of it. I would have actually been okay. But around midnight, the cleaning crew shows up. And I think, oh dear. And the cleaning crew is done, about 2 or 3 a.m., let's just call it. And then at 5 a.m., the construction team shows up.
Wow.
So I got no sleep
No sleep.
that night.
No way.
Yeah.
Do the flights accommodate you if they get delay or something like that?
Yeah, you get flight credits, you get free meals, that sort of thing, but you can't get your time back.
No
Yeah.
time and no sleep.
No sleep, can't get that sleepless night back.
Exactly. That's right. For the people who are not aware about upcycling and recycling, and I also talk to some of the people who gets confused in these two terms, upcycling and recycling. What is that, and what is the difference?
Yeah, so upcycling is, can it be used again? Recycled means you're probably going to turn it into something else or give it away. That's probably the simplest term. So if I upcycle, a really good example is I'm turning this really big, I used to be a size 20, now I'm a size 12. I cut this thing down, right? Like, I've technically upcycled it. It's still mine. I'm using it again, or I'm using it in a different way versus recycle. I'm taking it over to the Goodwill for somebody else to have, or I'm putting it in my blue bin and I'm separating the plastics from the paper. That is recycling. That means I know
I
it's going to go elsewhere to be repurposed in some other form or fashion or shape. And so when you see things like the pens, for example, and it says this pen was made with 100% recycled plastic bottles,
Right.
that sort of thing. Or your shopping bag made from 100% recycled paper. Yeah.
What are the common myths that you want to bust for greenwashing?
Gosh, there's so what is eco? I think eco is a buzzword right now, right? And
It is.
just because something is eco-friendly does not mean it has not previously been hard on the environment. Um, what's something else? Knowing the difference between circular fashion versus slow fashion, right? So circular means you are continuously closing the fashion loop versus slow fashion, which means it was designed in a slower process, hopefully with ethically sourced materials and
Exactly.
that sort of thing, right? It's not
Right.
made of plastic, okay? It wasn't made of plastic. And I want to go on my soapbox just for a second here because so much of the work that I do really does have an advocacy foundation. And every time I hear somebody say that they're okay shopping fast fashion, I say, are you okay with a child losing a limb? Are you okay with a woman who is getting paid 2 cents per day? Because that's really the economic toll of fast fashion that I don't think we truly understand. And my background in economics, because I was an economics professor, I made my students study because they were so excited about their fashion hauls. And I said, go study your fashion haul so you can really see that that thing you say you stand for is not true. Because if you're for fair wages, you won't shop fast fashion. The two do not exist right now. And I ran another report going back to, greenwashing and that sort of thing, but also just really bad narratives. Companies don't get fined very heavily when people lose their lives because they're working this equipment that's getting us our clothing faster than we probably needed anyway. And when I saw that the fines were something like $25,000 to $50,000, I was like, is that what a person's life is worth? Just so I can have a new garment? And it's those types of conversations that I think have to humanize the real sustainability challenges that we are facing. Um, there's tons of waste that is going in our water every day simply because we order 10 different things and say, I'll just throw the other 9 away. And we don't understand that there is no away. Because away is someone's backyard. Away is our water system. Away is in our food. And I think those are the conversations that separate the people who are really doing the work versus the people who are pretending. And so if you're looking at some of those myths and misconceptions, I again go back to check the storyline of what these businesses are saying. If they say that they know who their supply chain is, okay, let me see who you got your things from. Are they practicing ethically? Or are you saying it because you thought you heard you wish? Some other myths that I will say is, looking to see what percentage of fabric is recycled, because a lot of people will say, oh, it's recycled fabric, and then you find out only 2%'s been recycled. Oh, well then did you really do something? Is it 100% cotton or is it 100% organic cotton? Is it sourced or is it ethically sourced? Like there's a lot of, you know,
Right.
wordplay that we have
Exactly.
to be looking out for. I did an episode recently on my talk show and I was so baffled. I wish I had taken a picture of it, but literally the clothing was 100% polyester, but here's what the tag said. And this is how you know people don't pay attention. The tag said, this tag was made with 100% recyclable material.
My God.
Had nothing to do with the garment.
Wow. I don't know what to say about that. There's so much wordplay on that. I don't even thought of that. I don't know if you could do that legally.
It's true. The tag was made with 100% recyclable material, but the clothing,
At least they're not lying.
they are not lying, but are you telling your whole story? And if consumers are smart and savvy, they're not picking up on that. But I did, because it takes me hours to go shopping because I am reading and looking for things like that. And I just was like, I should take a picture of this.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know about that. Being sustainable is one thing. Being ethical. Okay, I'm gonna ask you actually because you can explain it much more better way. What is we know about sustainability, you explained it before, but what is ethical production? What is ethically, when you say this product, this t-shirt, this thing made ethically, what does that mean?
Yeah, it goes back to feeding the whole system and not just the environment, right? Are you providing safe working conditions for your workers? Are you making sure to pay fair wages? Are you making sure that wherever you got your source from, you can see the entire supply chain in progress, right? Um, are you making sure that at the end of the day, if they say this thing is going to do X to Y, that it's actually doing it? Like, can the claims be proven or are they false? That's ethical business.
Right,
And that's the foundation of the work that I do, right? Like, I'm like, yes, I want you to be sustainable, but I want you to be ethical. Are
right,
the business decisions you are making serving humanity?
right.
Do you feel good about sleeping with you at night, is what I tell people. Like, I want to feel good about sleeping with me at night. I'm gonna go to bed angry with me. You know,
Yeah,
are you doing bad press and bad media against your competition? That's also not ethical. So there's so many different ways to look at this process.
right. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. My next question is that what I was about to ask. How important it is to be sustainable and ethical. Okay, a brand is sustainable and ethical, but the product that they made is not a good quality.
I would say go back to R&D. You know, I would much rather you take your time and give me a higher quality product than to cut the corners in the name of sustainability and ethics. And I think the other thing that is happening is consumers don't mind paying more if they know it's quality, if they know it's sustainable, and if they know it's ethical.
Right.
Um, I literally spent $6 on a recycled notebook because I knew where the notebook came from. It's locally sourced. It's checking all the boxes. Or I could have spent $1 on the notebook, but I was willing as a consumer to spend $6 on a notebook because it matches and aligns with my values and my belief system. And I already know what I'm going to do with that notebook after I'm done with it. And having that mindset that
Wow.
it's okay to have less so the world has more. Can we all agree to do that? I don't mind having a little less if it means the world has a little bit more.
Exactly. I mean, that's a mindset that we should have. And I love the thing that you said, even after the notebook that you finish with it, what you're going to do about that? Because it's a whole process, it's a whole mindset that we have to think before even buying something.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much for making that point, Sybil. So, one more thing, I want to know your thoughts about that. Okay, recycled things are good. As you said, you spent 6 times more on a notebook than the traditional one. Okay,
Yes.
but is recycled polyester still good for us?
Yes. This is one of those great debates. I would rather us have recycled polyester than new polyester because but the challenge with recycled polyester is there's still a breaking down process that creates the microplastics that go into our food, our water, and our systems and our air. But it's still easier overall on the environment. And so I think it's like one of those, is it the lesser of two evils? And in this case, yes. And if I can figure out a way to create longevity in this product that I am using, then that means you should not have to produce as much of it on the back end because we don't need it. We're still using this first product. We don't need
Right.
another one,
Mhm.
right?
Makes sense.
So I could go into my big oil and gas conversation, right? Because at the end of the day, I think we've just got to have that real conversation, right? Even as consumers change their minds, they're going to figure out a different way to stay in business. And until we as consumers and stewards of this planet figure out a way to hold those big corps and those big businesses responsible for what's happening, all they're going to do is message it differently, package it differently, and make us think that they're doing something different when they're not.
I remember I had a podcast with a webisode with one of the guests before, and she was actually explaining me uh, she was telling me that even whatever the material that you wear on your body does affect your soul.
Yes.
And it does affect whatever your habits are. It's that much of a thing. And, wow,
Your skin is an organ. I think we forget our skin is an organ. It's a barrier, but it's also an organ. And so whatever we put on it and into our bodies is an extension of the environment. So yes, it is altering us at the cellular level, at the DNA level. It's changing how we think. I tell people, it's why I went 95% plant-based. It's because I didn't want to keep eating angry foods. Like our food is literally making us angry because of how we are treating the animals leading up to death and then consuming whatever that was, that
100%.
energy, that trauma, and then we're wondering why we're yelling at our spouse or our kids. So
I mean, that actually affects of your lifestyle and all the things what you wear, what you eat, your environment,
yeah,
and the things that you also see on your cell
yes,
phone and all the fast fashion. Not fast fashion, but the fast thing.
yes,
I figured out whatever is fast is not good.
it's not.
Yeah. So that's as easy it is. Take your time. It has to be slow. You have to realize what it is and, be more conscious. Yeah. Thank you. That was a serious talk we just had for past 10 minutes. Now we're gonna go for a lighter thing. We're gonna go for the hospitals.
Hospital.
LED.
Hospitality. Yes,
Yeah,
hospitality. Let's talk hospitality. Yes.
please.
Oh my gosh. So I've done work in the hospitality industry, and after having traveled so much, just realizing how easy it is to make some quick changes, right? Um, I remember I did an event and they spent upwards of $500,000 on this event.
Okay.
And I just remember how much trash and how much leftover food and how much decor was just wasted on creating the quote experience. And I said, once again, we are a part of the problem here. And so I saw this really clever Pinterest, and they were talking about party favors. Like, why do we need party favors? What do people do with them? They throw them away. They say thank you, they throw them away. Most people don't need those. Why Why mail out these really expensive mailers when you can send somebody an email or a text? Why have so much buffet when a plated meal is even more delicious, smaller portions, which means portion control, and there's less food waste? And so when I started partnering with these caterers on what do we do after, and realizing, okay, well, let's partner with the food bank. Let's not throw the food away. Like, of course, there's some food that after it's sat out for a certain amount of time, you really have to toss for, food regulations. And I said, but what was it to spend 5 minutes on the phone with the food bank and say, hey, this event's over at 9 p.m. Can your staff be here at 9:15? What is it to rent your decor instead of buying everything brand new? I think renting is really underrated. I'm like, go rent the things. Don't buy everything brand new. And then it can be used again and again and again.
Right.
And there's just so many different ways to make these events work for us. Why go into a building where you're going to have to flip on every light switch? Why not do it during the day and let the natural light seep in? There's just so many things that are easy fixes that I just don't think people think about, right? Like, not to get preachy, I just don't think people think about it because they want the best event ever.
Right.
And if you have them pause and say, well, what about this? They're not going to say no because it's helping everyone and it's, again, saving their budget.
Exactly. These are good ideas.
So that's why I'm a little harder on the event planning industry there. It's because I lived that life.
No, thank you for that. And I love that you pointed out these things. And that's the main motive too. Because as you said, if they know about they have these choices, most of the time you're not going to say no unless you are just, you know. So I hope that the people who are listening to this one and they have this thing in their mind, and the next time some event come, a wedding, a birthday party or something, they can think about, hey, Sybil talk about that. We're going to save the cost. We can actually go somewhere else if we needed to. And, we can have a nice event. So, exactly. What about the hospitality?
Hospitality is interesting. And so that's everything, right? And a lot of hotels are now starting to be eco-certified and green certified. And that really, again, it goes back to, and that's actually something I look for as a consumer because I travel so much.
Okay.
I look to see if the hotel is green certified, eco certified, and I start doing my digging before I book the hotel. And sometimes, yeah.
What does that mean if a hotel is greener?
Sure. So it goes back to how they manage the temperature in the hotel. It goes back to how frequently they change your linen. It goes back to, it goes back to what their check-in process looks like, what their amenities are, the percentage of daylight. Like, there's so many things. Do they have automatic dryers? Do they have auto off light switches? Like, there's literally a list of checkpoints that
Wow.
these hotels have to go through before they can get green certified or eco-friendly certified. And these are the things that I now look for. And they're literally on the websites. They've got that little leaf. Now, don't let that little leaf confuse you. You need to click on the button and see how many of those checklist items this hotel actually did. Because in all fairness, you might just do one or two and get your green leaf versus all 10. Really click on the button and see what process did they go through and how are they maintaining it. But one of the things that I know a lot of hotels have started to transition to is they don't do your towel replace and turn down services every day, which means they're washing less linen, they're washing less towels. And the person who is staying there, it's like, well, if it's just you in the bed, why do you need new linen every day? It's you. Do you change your linen at home every day? you know?
Right.
That sort of thing.
Wow,
So, yeah.
these are very interesting. I mean, I thought of those things, but I never thought of this way that you just explained. Please continue.
Yeah, so it's all of those components. And then it's also in the small things like recycling that little key card, that little plastic thing. Let them use that again. Let them cancel it out and it can go to the next guest. So
Right.
it's things like that that make up the difference. And I do know a couple of hotels have even started switching to different types of towels and sheets, going 100% organic cotton and that sort of thing. Again, slightly higher price point, but also they're trying to do the right thing. And consumers like me don't mind spending that extra $5 or $10 if I know it again aligns with my values.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. So every time that you're about to book the hotel, you just have to check what does it called that you have to
So
check?
it'll either say eco certified or green certified, and they'll have like this little green leaf or maybe like a circle with a G that's green. And if you click on that, it'll show what the hotel is doing, has done, pledges to do.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I will try that next time. I usually not go to hotels, but if I do, I'll definitely check that next time.
Yeah.
I'll let
I
you know.
am much more, yes, please. I am much more of a stay local person anyway. Um, because I like to support local businesses. So when possible, I will stay at a bed and breakfast because I know it's locally owned and operated. I know that money is cycling right back inside the local community. It's supporting a small business. But second to that, if I am staying at a hotel or someone has booked my hotel on my behalf or whatever, I'm like, hey, how about a green certified hotel? So yeah.
Nice. That's good. Thank you very much for pointing these things out. And I believe it's very, very helpful for the people to know about it. The main thing is people or even myself, we sometimes don't think, or if we think, we don't know about the things that we have to think of. So these are the good points that we can keep it in our mind and of course would try it next time to be more better and be more sustainable. So there's another thing which is very interesting, and I loved and enjoy your show.
Cute.
We gotta discuss about that. What is this about?
Yeah, so my talk show is Experience the Edge with Sybil, and I talk about what it's like helping businesses go sustainable while growing profitability. And then I have a segment called The Well Dressed Brand where I highlight designers like you on how you are building a fashion brand sustainably, some of the challenges that you're facing in the industry, and just really bringing light to there are other options if we know about them. So it's really about awareness, right? The more we know,
Right.
the better we can be informed as consumers. And so I'm really excited when you said, yes, you would join me. I was like, yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea, I love the concept, and the main motive, as I always say, is to build the awareness. It matters more than the profits that we make, because without that, I mean, without people, what we gonna do? What business, we gonna run if
Correct.
there are no people?
Correct. The AI is not buying your product. I don't
Yeah.
care what ChatGPT says. Not buying your product.
They're actually pushing more to sell products.
Yes.
AI. Yeah. I mean, all the I actually remember I discussed in the webisode the psychology of buying, and
Uh-huh.
she was explaining how people and AI push to people to buy more. And
Yes.
I was like, "Oh my God. There
Yes.
are so many ways." So, yeah,
Would you
that's
like
good.
fries with that? Yeah. That was like when I was studying marketing, that was like the number one sentence that they had us remember. Would you like fries with that? Increase McDonald's profitability like exponentially. That one question. Would you like fries with that? Would you like to supersize that? Right? Supersize was what, 39 cents at the time. You
Right.
do 39 cents across the billion people served.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. A huge difference. See,
huge.
not a big amount, but made a huge difference. That's
Yeah.
the same way if we do a little bit every day, each person can be a huge impact to the planet and to the people.
Yes.
Right. But by the way, when you said you want a fries, it reminds me of Rush Hour.
Gosh.
I said, oh my God. You remember that scene?
I do.
Yeah. Oh,
My gosh,
gosh.
I haven't seen that movie in forever. Now I gotta go watch Rush Hour.
He said in the so funny way, you want fries with that?
My fries with that.
Wow. A little bit more before, we wrap up our webisode here. I would love to know more about the show that you do or the interesting guests you have in the past. And you were also thought, oh, they're doing very great thing, or you were fascinated about those things.
Yeah, so gosh, I've had the opportunity to interview women in construction. I've had the opportunity to interview women who are in corporate but making a difference on that side. Um, Designers who are thinking differently about fabrication. I met a designer at Raleigh-Durham Fashion Week, and she was talking about the fabrication process. I met another designer who was talking about dyeing the clothing with beets, right? To get the clothing red, dyeing with beets. And so I've just been so fortunate to be able to have people like that talk about, again, I'm not the expert in that case, talk about why that type of work matters and what it means to create a sustainable system for them and be sustainable for the environment. And so, um, yeah, that has been the journey. I've talked to people who work in a lot of nonprofits, and they're talking about, because for me, sustainability is not just fashion, of course, right?
Right.
Childcare has to be sustainable. So one of the clients that I was working with, how can we make childcare sustainable when parents are working more? How can we make the workplace sustainable when people are being asked to do more with less? So I think there's a universal conversation around what sustainable really means for the future versus what we've pigeonholed it into in the past.
Right. Wow. That's amazing. Um, yeah, I'll look more into it. And of course, the people that you had in the web on your show, there's a lot that I could learn too, because that's how you learn. You see people, you listen to them, and you take the good thing, the good stuff, and try to implement in your life and get better. And that's the whole point of this thing, right? Right. What is the one thing that you're working right now?
One thing I'm working on right now, oh my goodness. So I don't know if you knew this or not, but I am a TEDx organizer. And so I am working on getting ready for the next TEDx stage. So we literally just finished picking our speakers last week.
Okay.
And so we are in the process of getting them ready to step on that big red circle and have their name known around the world.
Wow, that's
Yes.
amazing. Maybe you have taught me, but I didn't have that in my mind. Otherwise, I would have been more nicer to you. Oh gosh. Wow,
You've been
that's
so nice.
no, thank you for that. But yeah, that's amazing. Where usually the TEDx happen in the US? Is it in Manhattan?
So ours is here in North Carolina, but TEDx has happened everywhere. There's about 3,000 that happen globally annually.
I see. No, I was specifically asking about the US.
Yeah, so mine is in North Carolina. There's one in New York, but they are literally in every state. Yeah,
That's good. Yeah, maybe one day I'll join.
absolutely.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Sybil, for joining us here. We completed our time, but I don't know. We spoke for about an hour, but it feels like that I have something more to talk about, but I don't know what it is. I'm not fulfilled of this podcast. I don't know.
thank you. I'm always looking forward to share as much as I can with as many people as I can. And like I said, I look forward for you joining me on my radio show so we can
Definitely.
continue the
It would
conversation.
be my pleasure. And, I'm saying that because I feel like you are, I always say you are a diamond. Every person who makes a difference in sustainability and especially about humanity, because it's all about that. I always say that the world is not going anywhere. We are. So we have to be focusing, of course, the planet, but the people more. Because everybody has their right to live fairly. It's not just we're in the US, are we gonna, have all the rights but not the other part? Because I know about these things because I'm the other side of the world. Not too long ago, but like two years ago, I was being treated the same way that we are talking right now. But since I'm here, I'm glad, I'm lucky. I always say I'm so lucky to be, I'm always blessed, I say. So, yeah, that's why it's one of my mission to spread the awareness, to let the people know what's happening. So that's thing. Yeah, yeah. I was saying that I feel like I could have asked you more better questions and get more knowledge out of you, but let me think about it later. Maybe we'll do again.
Sounds amazing. It would be my pleasure.
Likewise. So yeah, please, where can the people find you?
Am on all of the social medias at
All over the
Sybil S.
place.
Stewart, all over the place. Sybil
Right.
S. Stewart, that's SYBILSSTEWART. And my website is sybilstewart.com.
Amazing. All the links that she mentioned, or even other resources that if she might share it with me, everything you can find in the description. You can just go check out. I mean, always, I'm very, very happy. Every podcast that we do, there's, all the guests come with their uniqueness, with their own unique knowledge and with a different background. It's just amazing. Thank you very much again. My pleasure. And thank you very much to you guys for joining us here on ZÁY SHEEN Webisodes. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.